Okay, so clearly I'm not covering my face anymore. More on this later. Uh, the main point of this is the story of the wedding pictures, part one. And part one is very important because there's a very exciting part two. My sister got married in 1999, and my stepmother took it upon herself to gather all the wedding pictures together that had been ordered by family members and then redistribute them to the people who had bought them. So, uh, I guess a year went by. I hadn't bought any myself as the younger brother, and didn't think much about it. And then I guess about a year later, so we're talking 2000, my uncle, and this is not on my stepmom's side of the family, but my mother's side of the family, um, was saying, "Well, I'd like to get those wedding pictures. I'd like to see them. I did pay for them." So I talked to my stepmother about it. I said, I need to get those pictures off to my uncle. He's really missing them." And my stepmom tells me, "Yes, I'm going to get to it." And this was really when the hoarding first started. I think about well, I guess, yeah, 2000 is about where it started becoming really noticeable that something was off. She says, "Yeah, I'm going to get to that. No problem. I'll take care of it." So then the next year goes by because I tend to see my family around Christmas, or unless there's a wedding or a funeral. Another year goes by, and I bring it up pretty casually. It's not a big deal to me right now. "Yes, I'm talking to my uncle, and he's saying, those wedding pictures haven't come." She's like, "Oh, I thought we sent those." "Oh, yes, I'll get those, no problem." So by the time the next year came around, and by then it's 2002, I couldn't have a conversation with my uncle. My uncle's the type of guy, he thinks he has one foot in the grave, and he thinks he's not long for this world. So I was like, "Well, it's so much would like to see him before I died, and I did pay $150 for him, so I was just hoping that I'd be able to see them, but I don't want to be a bother. I got the Polaroids that were really nice, and I just, I'd like to see them." So I go to my stepmother, and, I've brought it up year after year, and each time with more intensity. And this year, I said, "Listen, I cannot have a relationship with my uncle until these pictures get sent out because every time I talk to him, I feel very guilty, and it's what he brings up, and I feel so bad I can't talk to my uncle anymore. So could you please take care of those pictures? I can't imagine." And my stepmom and I had a conflict over college money, which I eventually took over myself. Long story short, when I first went to college, I got federal aid, but she made too much money for me to get any federal aid, but didn't feel like, because she wasn't my mother, that she didn't have to give me money for college, so I had to work my way through college and had debt, etc. But I had taken care of that a couple years earlier, had paid it all off myself, and was done. But I told her this is the second conflict, that we've really had. So I think that I feel that if my uncle dies before he sees these wedding pictures, I fear that our relationship will never recover. And left it at that. And then a year went by again. By now it's 2003, over 4 years after these pictures had arrived. And I was sitting down with my sister and her husband of 4 years, and husband's father, and my sister and I were just complaining about it. We were complaining about the house, we were complaining about our stepmother, we were complaining about everything. And my brother-in-law says, who's a great guy, brother-in-law says, "Guys, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about you two, about you guys complaining all the time, and I'm sick of it. So what do you say we go there right now and find them? We'll find the wedding pictures." So I was in a daring mood. So I'm like, "Well, fine. If you go, I'll go." He's like, "Well, I'm going." I'm like, going, "Well, if you go, I'm gonna go." And it just turned into this thing where I really thought it was a dare, where we were all gonna back out. But my brother-in-law, so awesome, he wasn't going to back down. It's like, "Well, what's she gonna do to me if I go through the house and go through the stuff and find the wedding pictures? The wedding pictures don't belong to her. They belong to your uncle, and I'm sure that you and your father have some." So we went there, and on the way, and by the way, I videotaped from the time we were in the car to the end of this story. I videotaped the whole thing. It's great. I might get up the courage. I just don't want to identify, by name anyone. So in the car, he says, "It's like an archaeological dig. They must have arrived in 99, 2000. So if you're digging through a pile and there's a newspaper that says 2002, you have to dig deeper. And if there's one that says 1998, you have to go shallower, and then you'll find it, just like archaeologists do." So we went to the house, and we walk into the foyer, and you know the foyer, and all of a sudden it just sort of struck us. Like, oh my gosh, are we really gonna try to find these pictures in this huge mess? So he says, "Okay, David, you take the computer table. My name's David. That's fine. You take the computer table. I'm taking the kitchen table, and my wife, you take the table in the living room." And guess what? 10, 15 minutes later, I found the pictures in the computer table, buried. So what do? We took them out. Turns out my parents had about $250 worth of wedding pictures sitting in the envelope. Uncle Jimmy had $150, had them. In the next 15 minutes, we took them down to the post office. We sent them off to my uncle, and that's how that ended. Now, the trick of this story is that we were trying to figure out if we were going to tell my stepmom, and because she hates it when people touch her stuff, and we decided that we would tell Dad and swear him to secrecy, and that someday my stepmom would be on her deathbed and go, "Oh, my only regret in life was that I never found those wedding pictures." So we figured we would never bring it up again. We put back our parents' pictures in the exact same envelope, stuck it back into the pile where it was, left a note saying, "We found these, December 26th, 2003. If you find them, please let us know."